Yes. Starting another Captain and Madden show for a mid-February. I almost want to say this is Valentine's Day. Captain, is it Valentine's Day?
We're right around it. Technically, I believe Valentine's Day would be tomorrow.
Well, we're recording on Thursday, but we'll be releasing this episode on Valentine's Day.
So sorry to spoil the illusion that we do this live. So yes, it's Friday the 14th. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Nobody does podcast live. This isn't. What are we doing? Sports talk radio?
We're gonna start taking callers pretty soon.
Oh, well, the technology. So, yeah, people do ask a lot. By the way, the other side of this, that's the Captain. Say hi again, Captain.
Hello. How are you?
And I'm Mike Madden, the Madden part of the Captain and Madden show. Yeah, people will stop me because I've been around this podcast block for 2 or 3 years now. They will always say to me "Why don't you take calls? I want to call into your show." I was like, it doesn't work that way. This isn't
not FAN.
This isn't FAN. Yeah, you can't. It's not. There's no request line for content. So
I'm sorry, Doris from Rego Park, but you can't call into my podcast.
If you're going to become a regular listener of this show and you feel like, all right, well, I'll subscribe and I know you guys and I'll send you a really nice email or message, then feel free at any point DM us on Twitter, because we do actually have a Twitter account. I don't know, Cap, did you know that we had a Twitter account?
Wow.
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah. No, this is high stakes situation. So you can actually follow us on Twitter, currently known as X, at Cap and Madden Pod, over there. So jump by. We post links to the show, and we are open to chat. And I believe since this week's topic is Saturday Night Live, and there is a Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary special this weekend, I'm sure there will be some activity on our timeline in regards to it. So feel free to jump on there, follow us, and tell us how much you love the show, and then petition to become maybe a guest on the show. We don't.
Yeah, and not to sound like I'm a shill for NBC, but the big show would be this Sunday, the 16th. But yes, they are airing I think Friday night they have the SNL concert.
Yes,
has a bunch of musical guests that were some were already previously on the show, and I think there's some sort of recap or showing old skits or something on Saturday night.
Yeah, no,
during prime time.
During prime time. I think at 11:30 they're showing the very first episode again.
But then Sunday is a live event, 3 hour or something like that.
Yeah, that's the centerpiece to the weekend would be that. So that being said, Saturday Night Live, 50 years. I've been alive for 50 years. Spoiler alert. I did not watch the show in my infancy, so I don't go all the way back to the very beginning. Captain, I'm sure you can say the same thing. You don't have a time machine where you went back and watched this as a kid or a teenager. So when I first started watching, probably the 88 season. 88, 89 season, because I do remember them doing a lot of political sketches for the election, which was George Bush and Michael Dukakis. So I first started watching it. My dad had been a fan. He wasn't a religious watcher, but he had seen it since the beginning, and he liked Two Wild and Crazy Guys and stuff like that. So I had sort of a little bit of a pre-education on this being a funny show, or a funny show at one time, and then kind of got hooked on it and that was I was starting off my teenage years watching it on TV. How about you, Cap? What were your first seasons?
I don't remember the exact first season. It's probably pretty close to yours, but SNL was a big thing in my family. My dad who was a notorious early riser, would actually stay. I mean, that for him to stay up till 11:30 at night was like a big deal, and he was a huge fan of it. So I can kind of remember different sketches, or maybe you know I don't remember specific, like, oh, I remember that episode or I remember that season, but there's some things where, like, when they do the like a rewind or a retrospect or something like that,
Hmm.
I can kind of point and be like, oh, I kind of remember, because it was like my dad would probably stay up till like Weekend Update. I was young, and I was at an age that I probably made it through like the first two or three sketches,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then I had to go to bed or whatever. But um, yeah. So I mean, really, like I the Dana Carvey, like post 85, 86 season is probably, Lovett's, his first season, that sort of stuff is
Hmm.
probably where I can remember watching it on a regular basis.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah. The VCR was our kind of gateway to that stuff, because it basically was like, yeah, nobody was going to stay up to watch this, but you still thought it was a funny show, and you're like, oh, we're gonna tape it and then watch it sometime like the next day or early enough in the week. And that also meant, like, if there was something that needed to be fast forward because it was a little too edgy, or if there was a musical act that nobody was interested in seeing, like, you had the luxury of skipping certain things. And so that
Well,
was, that was also part of it, where, you know yeah, staying up and watching it was one thing, and that was like a treat. But if you didn't have the energy, pop in a tape. And at one point, like, I do remember, like, probably in the '90s, early '90s, I had a lot of, like, VHS tapes that had, like, it would have like 5 episodes on a VHS tape, so you could rewind, go back, rewatch stuff all over, over and over again. So kind of fed that addiction to it, and really started to know. I think there's probably certain episodes in the 90-91 season that I know every skit and could probably recite them back. My younger brain could, but
the other thing that was during that time, like, the really popular, like the big thing with SNL, like, you know, the late 80s into the early 90s was the recurring character.
yes,
Like,
oh
you think
yeah,
of like Dana Carvey doing Church Lady, or when Lovitz used to do like dress up as the devil, and
yeah,
that type of stuff. Those were usually within the first two or three skits.
yeah, yeah. They,
So as a kid, those were the reoccurring popular things, characters or skits or whatever. Those were kind of like what you wanted.
mhm.
Obviously, as you get older, you start appreciating like that 10 minutes to one sketch that, like,
Yeah,
probably you'll never see again. But who knows? Maybe, Wayne's World was the 10-minute to
they
one
were a 10
sketch.
to 1. Yeah, yeah.
And, so yeah, like, so when you're a kid, like, yeah, maybe you knew the musical guest, maybe you didn't. But yeah, at least staying up to see the first two or three sketches was a big thing, because those were like, you know, the popular recurring characters or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. No, the 10 to 1 skit. I'm glad you brought up the 10 to 1 sketch, because the 10 to 1 sketch is still like, they throw on some really experimental stuff. Like, even to this day, like, they'll throw on some like real oddball stuff at that time, and it's meant to be sort of like, did I really see that? Or like, oh boy, they really got to end this show fast and not extend this any further.
Have you, well, whether you witnessed it live, or have you ever gone down the YouTube train of seeing Steven Seagal was the host,
Oh yeah. Huh.
and the 10-minute to one sketch where he comes out and like just has a bunch of stuntmen and he beats them up,
Beats them all up. Yeah.
and he just turns into the camera and says, and that's what you get for messing with the environment.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like an Exxon Valdez skit. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, and that's funny, because that episode has one of my favorite skits of all time. And I remember having this, and not only did I have it on VHS, but I recorded it off the television, and I put it on a cassette tape to like play in my Walkman, and I guess even my car after a while. It was the Musicians for Free Range Chickens. It was like a We Are the World for free range chickens, and it's still so goddamn funny. Like to this day, like I laugh at the impersonations that they all do, and that's in the freaking Steven Seagal episode. And that's one that like everybody hated Seagal. He was an asshole. He was combative with the writers. He wanted he had to have stunts in every skit. He didn't understand what Saturday Night Live was, and that great.
He also didn't know what good movies were. So
yeah, well, but
what about the Michael Jordan? Please stay. Like when they had, I think like Farley dressed up as Meatloaf.
Yeah. I mean, they kind of ran those We Are the World parody skits into the ground after a while.
The funny thing about the Michael Jordan one was that Aerosmith was the musical guest that night, and Tyler and Perry were in with the other guys all in costume in person, and it was just like, wow, that guy really looks like Steven Tyler.
Right.
And you're like, oh, wait a minute, that is Steven Tyler.
Yeah, who's doing this great Steven Tyler impersonation? But let's crack into it. We both came up with all-time casts, about 20 performers for each of us. So this is going to be the bulk of the episode. And then we'll get into a couple other subcategories after we do this. But we do have to honor the cast. And you said that you did yours in alphabetical order as if they were being announced on the show. Very traditional.
For those that don't know me, there are a lot of times where somebody will give me the simplest of tasks, and I will then turn around and make it extremely way more complicated than it ever really needed to be. Yeah. So Mike said, why don't we come up with our top 20 cast members and make the ultimate cast? So then I took it as I'm the producer of the show and I'm going to get 20 people. So if I had a little bit more time, I would have paid Don Pardo to read my list in alphabetical order. So.
You would need a very a strong shovel as well, because Mr. Pardo being
dead. I know.
DEAD, Daryl Hammond.
Yeah, but AI,
Oh, AI Pardo.
Oh, okay. AI Pardo.
There
you go.
Okay. Don't give them any ideas, because they'll AI Pardo tomorrow night or on Sunday night, and it'll be like, no, they don't understand words. Mickey D.
It would be like when Jeter still had the recording of Bob Shepard.
Yeah.
5 years after Shepard had died, because he was like, I don't want anyone else. You think one of the some of the original cast members are like, I will never have my name read out on Saturday Night Live if it's not Don Pardo.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So kick it off with your list.
So my first cast member is from one of the originals. A great, he could be the lead in a skit. He can kind of be in the background, and he was just a very talented original member of that cast, and that's Dan Aykroyd. Dan
Aykroyd. Okay. Yeah. Dan Aykroyd's great. Always great. Impersonations. First thing that pops off your head when you think of Dan Aykroyd and an impersonation that he did.
The Julia Childs. And he says "Ooh, it looks like I cut the Dickens out of my hand," and then the little cut turns into this where it just over the top, just blood pumping all over the place, and he's trying to explain calmly how to deal with if you cut yourself in the kitchen, how to deal with it, but yet he's got this, he's got this gusher and that would be my first. I was never really I know he did a Jimmy Carter impression.
Yeah. Well, he just played.
He kind of sounded like him, but he didn't really look like Jimmy Carter.
Played him as a hippie more than anything else. And I think that without being around in that time frame, you just sort of have to kind of like, all right, well, yeah, it makes sense. You listen to Jimmy Carter and it's sort of like laid back and Southern accent. Sure, I got it. But yeah, but Aykroyd killer. Recurring sketch. For
Yeah,
Aykroyd?
I mean, he's one of those, like, there were certain members, like, especially with that original cast, that, like, you think of, like, all right, Belushi's like over the top. Chevy Chase was featured. Like, sometimes you kind of had to have that guy that, like, took up, that kind of blended in and chewed some scenery and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
Aykroyd could do that, or he could be the lead. Like, he could be the centerpiece around a skit. So I guess you would call that like the jack of all trades. I don't know what you would call that.
Well, I'm just thinking like of his like recurring characters. Like you had obviously Coneheads, Blues Brothers.
Was he was a Czech brother, right?
Yes, yeah, with Steve Martin. Yeah.
Yep.
And
obviously Blues Brothers.
Yeah, yeah. Herman Mainway. He was the consumer affairs, and he had Bag of Glass and other Halloween stuff. The Fred Garvin, male prostitute. Like he had bangers in the day, as the kids would say. So,
and of course his biggest contribution of Jane, you ignorant slut.
Oh, of course, yeah, famous line. So Aykroyd. All right, who do you got next?
As of course I'm going in alphabetical order. Mm-hmm. Fred Armisen.
Yeah.
From the the 2000s. Cool thing that I always liked about Fred, I'm gonna call him Fred because
he's your buddy.
Really good friends.
Yeah.
He's really funny, but the side of the fact that he's a musician.
Yeah.
Like, he had a history being in like punk bands and stuff, and later on, like, he was the drummer for a little while for the Seth Meyers show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But whether he was on Saturday Night Live or even later, like with the Portlandia stuff, but primarily Saturday Night Live, like, he did Tito Puente. He did like the sketch where he was in a punk band, and it featured Bill Hader, Dave Grohl, and the host that night was playing guitar, and it was Fred Armisen's daughter's wedding.
Yes. Oh yeah.
And they just started playing this punk rock song, and he jumped into the wedding cake at the end of it and stuff.
He's so brilliant in that.
He's really funny, but I always really did enjoy the fact that he had that musical side, and he could do I think he was Prince in the Prince show.
He was. Yeah.
So that was just a thing with him that, like, he was in the California skit, which was really funny. But yeah, he always had that music side to him, which was cool.
Yeah, Fred's he's on my list. Spoiler alert, he will be on my list. So Fred, all right, cool. Fred's great. We'll talk about Fred a little bit later in the show.
My next would be Dana Carvey.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, the impersonations. He did H. Ross Perot. He did George H. Bush.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You had Church Lady. He was part of of Wayne's World. I mean, this was not only like popular on the show; it was part of pop culture.
Yeah. He crossed over huge with the impersonations. It was and a lot of people just did his impersonations, like basically like his Paul McCartney is what Jimmy Fallon does. It's the same impersonation. Like Jimmy Fallon's doing a cover of Dana Carvey's Paul McCartney, picking certain things up. But like, and again, like George Bush was a fan of Dana Carvey's version of George Bush. So, I mean, that's when you kind of like, when you can make the person that you're imitating kind of laugh at it and become a bigger fan and want you to like go to events and do the bit or whatever, like that's sort of an honor. Plus incredible characters. Holy shit! Like,
Yes. Massive head wound Harry.
That's. I was just gonna say it. That's
The
one time only, but holy, it's so great.
singer,
It's so funny.
Chopping broccoli.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Derek Stevens.
there. If you're one of these, if you're a geek like me who loves SNL, there is a skit that is. I think you can find it on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't air, but it was on dress rehearsal when he came back as a host, and it's him doing Casey Kasem and Hader doing his brother, or no, his son. He was supposed to be Casey Kasem's son, and it's like a kind of like a murder mystery thing, and both of them going back and forth doing their Casey Kasem impersonations,
All right.
which is it's one of those like, how did that not make it to air type of skit?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. That type of stuff, like, that's what you love about YouTube, is that they have a place now that they can put that. They could put it on Peacock, but one thing I will say is, for anything that's older than like 10 years ago or 15 years ago, Peacock is terrible for. Like, if you want to watch like episodes from the 70s or the 80s and the 90s, they're all chopped up. They don't have the musical guests. I watched the one the other day because I really was like itching to see a certain episode. It was like, I don't know, Delta Burke was the host, whatever it was. And it's like
Designing Women or First and 10 Delta Burke?
Designing Women.
Okay.
So, and I don't know why I picked that. I just sort of like, it was at the end of a certain season that I wanted to like do a little bit of research on. And it was like the whole thing on Peacock is like 11 minutes long. So they had like 2 skits from the show, and they were the 10-to-1 skit and a really long like Weight Watcher skit. And it's like, and whatever the opening monologue was. And it's like, that's what you, like, why even have it? Just like cross it off. Like, they do a terrible job on that. And I think it's because there's some politically incorrect stuff that floats around, and they don't want to offend anyone. If you're a fan of the show and you know what it's about, there's going to be shit on there that like you're not going to get. So like, you're cutting out 90% of the show, and you're losing like these good like lost bits.
Well, even like, rant. I think like Comedy Central or some years ago used to run like the really old, like almost like the original years episodes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did.
And they never had a musical guest because they couldn't get the rights to the music.
Yeah, the licensing is.
So you would always get like the opening, you get the cold opening monologue, and then like it was usually like whatever skits they did that night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and so there's always who knows, maybe they didn't keep all of it. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean they probably have a million reasons why they don't have the original, but why even at that point, like, just say like, this is the greatest hits of Saturday Night Live. Don't say like, we've got every episode. Like, you barely have every episode. Rant over. All right, who's next on the list?
I got the unfortunately no longer with us, but great Chris Farley.
Yeah. Farley's a force of nature.
I mean, obviously Van Down by a River.
Mm-hmm. Matt Foley.
The Gap Girls. My favorite of Farley, because it's funny because I remember laughing my ass off at it when it aired. I remember watching it live, obviously Saturday Night Live, but I caught it the other night on one of those like pop-up things on your phone or whatever, when him and Patrick Swayze were the Chippendales dancers, and they were doing it like it was like a tryout to be a trip, and at the time, like, Swayze, I forget what movie he was, maybe he was doing Roadhouse or Ghost or something.
It might have been Point Break. Yeah,
it could have been. And and he's out there, and like Farley's next to him, and his gut's hanging out, and then like when he's dancing, like you could see his ass crack and shit.
Yeah,
and it's just like, and the ones that are judges are like, I don't know, this is really close to call. Like,
I
it's
wish
a really hard, this is a really difficult decision, blah, blah, blah. And they're dancing to like, everybody, I think it's like a lover boy song or something. It
yeah, it
just,
was working for the weekend. Yeah.
yeah. But again, he's kind of like another guy that like, there are some that when they got that stardom or got, when they were like one of the hottest people that was on the show, some people just did like they just did their best or like their most well known, and then that was it. Like, but Farley could be he in one skit he could be the lead or the main focus, but then like the next one he could just be a guy in the crowd in the background,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
it never really overshadowed where he would get up and maybe say a line, or he was a guy at a table at a restaurant or something like that, and he would deliver his one line, but it wasn't like it was just like it everybody was just waiting for him, that like he could kind of blend in the back, and I guess that's it goes to like his years of training. I believe he was at Second
He was
City,
the Second City Chicago guy. Yeah. Yeah.
so. I just, as much as like he could be the lead or the head, the main focus of it, he could blend in the background and wasn't a distraction. So,
His
unfortunately, towards the end, you could kind of tell like he was,
he was out of it. He was sloppy. He was
I mean, they won't share. He came back after he left the show to host, and he was just completely, and he was out of it. He was obviously on something, and the show was horrible. He was horrible.
yeah. Yeah.
Michaels is like, I'll never re-air that show ever again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Gone too soon. Should have taken care of yourself a little bit better, Chris. But no, I was gonna say like one of my favorite Farley things. And Farley's on my list too, obviously. But it was there was a Brady Bunch. It was a Partridge Family skit because Susan Day was the host. It's a Partridge Family. They're rehearsing in their garage, and then like Jan Brady from the Brady Bunch comes in, and then they had part of the cast was dressed as the Brady Bunch, and Farley is Reuben Kincaid, the manager for the Partridge Family, and he doesn't have to do much. He's basically just like standing off to one side and nodding, just like the actor who played Reuben Kincaid did like a lot in those Partridge Family performances and episodes. And it was like, all right, well, this is, that's sort of like the icing on the cake on that one. So that's a memorable one for like Farley being a background player. That's sort of like, man, he nailed it. Like easy stuff. So, all right, Chris Farley, where do we go from here?
staying in the letter F. Will Ferrell.
Oh, what a surprise. Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
All right.
Real shocker.
Yeah.
This dude was just, I mean, it kind of started a little slow, like his first year, but I mean, the cheerleader, like my favorite was probably his impersonation of Harry Carey.
Which he auditioned with, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
There were subtle ones where like the Robert Goulet Christmas show,
Yeah.
like who does a Robert Goulet? One of the ones that it's not to get like, but the episode after 9/11 where he comes in with they're like in an office meeting and he comes in and he's got the red, white, and blue Speedo on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's kind of like, he's what would later become like a normal, like, in movies and stuff. But like, he's bending over, like trying to find stuff for make his coffee, and his ass is like right near
everybody's face.
Tim Mebo's face. And everyone's like, anytime that like people are like, start giving him shit, he starts talking about like how
Yeah.
I'm an American, I'm gonna wear this and blah blah blah. And,
What's so different? You have a flag and a pin on.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just a guy. I believe he was from Grambling in
Groundlings in LA. Yeah.
Grambling, because I believe that's a college.
Yeah, it's a black university.
I don't think Will Ferrell went there.
Nope, probably not.
So he had that like training and background and stuff too. So, but the him and Anna Gasteyer used to, where he would wear the beard. He would play the piano and they would sing. They were like the folk singers.
Yeah, Culp, the Culps.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah, no, he had like, again, when you're absolutely right. Like he was sort of slow to start, but like when they realized, then they started to write for him. Adam McKay, who was the head writer for the show for a while there in the mid to late '90s, he was a buddy with Will, and they started to write specific stuff, and it just got like, it's over the top, and it's, he's so loud, and he's so like, he's physical, like he could fall, he could like, run into something and have a reaction to it that like it makes you laugh. Great, and he was there for 8 seasons, I want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he built his way up, and he lasted, and he basically, kind of put that show on his shoulders for a few years too. So, kudos to Will. Yes, Will is going to be in my list as well. So, let's see what else you have.
So changing it up a little bit.
Okay.
It can't be an all boys, school
Uh-huh.
or cast in this place. So
Boy school.
maybe not the most famous of all females that was on the, on the show over the years, but I always thought she was very talented. It's really funny. She did a lot of sketches with singing. One that I just mentioned with Will Ferrell, and that's Anna Gasteyer.
All right, Anna Gasteyer. A little bit of a sleeper.
Yeah.
But she was good. She was good with impersonation. I think she said she did Celine Dion.
Oh yeah.
Said Celine
I'm
Dion.
the greatest singer in the whole world.
Yeah, yeah. And she had I think what is probably the quintessential Martha Stewart impersonation.
That, and she was also one half of her and Molly Shannon used to do the NPR, the Sweaty Balls.
Yeah, delicious dish. Yeah. Which I think, and I'm going to just interrupt you there. One of the most overrated sketches. I'm sorry to say that, fans of Saturday Night Live, it's a bit played out.
Yeah,
My one man's opinion.
well, it's always going to be played on the Christmas. They always show that. The best of Christmas, and it's on there. The funny part of it is not, in my opinion, like it's not him saying "sweaty ball." It's how they make fun of NPR.
Yeah,
because that's what like
exactly.
everybody sounds like when you're on a show. It's very soft spoken.
Oh, of course it is. Yes.
And we're gonna play a song next here, and that's how NPR is.
it is.
And it's just, and it's like even when someone gets like somewhat animated, it's like, like it's just
And
that,
way to keep the microphones quiet.
so.
It's public. It's publicly funded.
Unfortunately, it didn't ever really. There's a lot that she never really took SNL to anything outside of it. I mean, she's been on a couple TV shows. She may pop up in a comedy movie. Like she didn't go from like being on SNL to like a superstar or anything like that.
I think she had a sitcom last year, where she was like a cast member on an ensemble sitcom.
Right.
So she's still out there. She still acts.
She's out there doing stuff, but I mean, it's not like, sorry to say, but not like Will Ferrell, who turned SNL into a
huge box office,
huge comedy movie career or anything like that.
Exactly. All right, Anna, making your list. Like it. First woman. Some lady energy in the building. Okay.
Got to have some estrogen.
Yeah. All right.
It was kind of a sausage cast. Right,
a bit of one. All right. So moving along to how many are you into right now? Is this 5 or 6?
We're up to number 7 there.
Number 7. Okay. All right.
Wow. Number 7. I don't think this is like a Stephen A. hot take, but easily my favorite person that's on SNL, cast member of all time. I dare say maybe the funniest and or most talented that was on SNL, and that's Phil Hartman.
The glue.
He just he could do everything. He could do there wasn't really, I mean, he didn't really go out of his way to do like the everyday impersonation, but he did characters. He was the game show host. He
Yeah.
was the dad in a sketch, and he always delivered. Like I can't remember too many skits or sketches or anything that he was in where it's like, oh wow, like he totally dropped the ball on that. Or like,
Yep.
if it wasn't funny, it wasn't funny, and if it wasn't funny, it wasn't because of
It's
Phil
not
Hartman.
Phil. Yeah, it's not Phil's fault.
The sketch just probably just sucked. It just he could do just the. I mean, he could do anything on that show and was always funny.
He's got the best Frank. He's got the, and I don't even know if anybody did it after that because I think his career was over, but the best Donahue. And he was the original Donahue guy where he was running around and like taking the calls. And so, yeah, brilliant.
Or the best is when somebody would be giving a bad answer or a long-winded answer, and he would just take the microphone and start banging it on his head like Donahue would do.
Yeah, yeah. All right, I got to ask, like, you say Phil Hartman, what's the one skit that comes to mind?
So early on, he did a skit with Lovitz.
Oh,
Where
okay.
he was like a 1920s or 30s actor.
Yeah, this one's great.
And he was like, and Lovitz is like, you stink. Nobody wants to hire you. And he was like,
Don't sugarcoat. Don't
stop
sugarcoat
holding
me.
back. Tell me what everyone's thinking. And he was just like,
You're through. Your
like,
career's over.
you stink, and I get 1,000 letters a week saying how much you. What's the word from the fans?
What are the papers saying?
You know,
Yeah, that's a great one. That is. I remember that one being like, and again, that was like his first season. That was like one of the first things that you saw with him, and it's like, yeah, this cast knows what they're doing now. Like, they've got real, and he's a great actor. Like, just in general, he's a great actor.
Yeah, I mean, what he brought on the SNL, I mean, he later brought on to news radio, and then any type of movie that he was in.
Yeah,
he could be the annoying next door neighbor, he could be the car salesman, he could be the husband. Like it just, and he just always delivered.
Lionel Hutz, Simpsons.
Yep.
You know,
I would dare say the Simpsons almost wasn't the same after he passed.
Yeah, yeah. Troy McClure. You may remember him from such things. We could just talk about Phil all day,
Yes.
but fun fact, just real fun fact before we move on to the next person. In the opening credits, I think when they got to like the 80, maybe it was the 89 season, and most of the opening credits were like, they're in New York, but they're sitting at like restaurant tables. And he's sitting at the table with, and he's having like a martini with a blonde woman sitting across from him. And it's nobody from the cast, so it's not like Victoria Jackson or anybody or anybody in a wig. He's sitting across from what would be his wife and also his murderer.
Womp, womp, womp.
I don't know if that's a fun. Is that a fun fact?
Downer.
Is that a terrible fact? All right, that might be a terrible fact, but.
Almost as good as the. This will be a perfect lead into my next person.
Okay. All right.
Fun fact that I heard the other day. So you ever see the movie The Last Boy Scout? Damon Wayans, Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis, right? Okay.
All right. So it's based around football.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The consultants on the film for the football scenes, A.C. Collins and O.J. Simpson.
Wow, fantastic.
This is like 91, 92. Which leads me into my next guest, or my next member of the cast.
Oh, yeah?
Norm Macdonald.
Yeah, Norm, yeah.
And primarily, I put this down there. Norm is doing Weekend Update on my show.
Yeah.
I love Dennis Miller. I actually really, people crap on it, but I do like Jost and Shay.
Yeah.
Obviously,
they're good. Yeah.
Tina Fey and Amy Poehler were really good.
Seth Meyers is great.
Chevy was
yeah.
the original.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, man, Norm Macdonald was the best Weekend Update person.
Deadpan could kill you with the deadpan without
His jokes
question.
that like sort of bombed were almost as funny as the ones that made everybody like side split laugh.
Yeah, no doubt, because it would be like a, hey, you didn't get that one, huh? All right,
Yeah.
and it's just that reaction, and he's waiting for the reaction to get a bigger laugh than the original joke did.
And the lower that the room was, the longer he would pause. Like if it really hit, he would give it its it's whatever 10 seconds and this and that. But like if it bombed, he gave it that extra 5 seconds just of like, it's beach balls. You get it? And it was just like, I mean, please, if you're out there, if you're listening, if you've never had the opportunity or have not, like, go on YouTube, listen. There's a video. It's 25, 30 minutes of all of his OJ jokes that he did.
Yeah.
You deserve it. You deserve to laugh that loud. Whatever, I know, whatever. It's a controversial thing, whatever, but it's just, that's my lucky stabbing hat. All those jokes are just, they're great.
But he's also like, and this is, he had absurd stuff. Like Miller did some absurd jokes, and even Kevin Nealon did some absurd jokes when they were hosting. But his level of like where he would go, like, and it would be like something that was on the screen, or it's like a headline, and then he's like, well, the headline says this, and then whatever the joke would be like, and he would make something up that had nothing to do with the headline, and he'd be like, oh, I guess that didn't really make a lot of sense. And it's just the sort of like, it's almost like he's hosting it like in his own head, or like he's just doing it to himself, almost like practicing it to a certain extent. And yeah, I mean, he's so unique, and it's a shame that he got railroaded off the show. Not that he would have like lasted another like 30 years on it, for crying out loud. But also a little bit underrated when it comes to impersonations. Larry King, Burt Reynolds, and Letterman.
Yeah,
don't forget when he came back and hosted, he did Letterman.
The another good thing to listen to is if you ever interviews with Jack Downey.
Oh, Jim
former
Downey.
Writer.
Yeah.
Jim Downey. About how, like, the easy part was writing the joke.
Mm-hmm.
It was like they would agonize over like where the pause would be, or like, or just like where the comma, like there was a joke that was on the air that was Penthouse magazine. Pictures of an alien autopsy. People would describe it as clear, precise, and surprisingly easy to masturbate to. And he tells a story about how like that last part, like how they spent hours coming up with surprisingly, like the joke of it is like,
we know what the punchline is.
Imagine somebody jerking off to an autopsy picture of an alien and going like, "Hey, this is pretty clear," like that was. But they would agonize over the words, and it just like it paid off.
He's still also the last thing we'll say about Norm. Norm is the greatest guest that was ever on Conan O'Brien. Yes. Like unquestioned. Conan had great chemistry with a lot of people, and he had especially like SNL people that he could like bounce ideas off of and like share stories. Conan O'Brien's greatest guest on his talk show was Norm Macdonald, hands down. Another one, just go back and watch like mega cuts on YouTube of like Norm on Conan. He's so good.
Chairman of the board. Was it spelled BORED by any chance?
It's still one of the best punchlines. That first time I heard that, I fell down. All right, who's after Norm on the hit list?
So you're gonna have somebody again thinking into like I'm not picking the 20th best people to ever be on the show.
Yes,
I'm trying to make the best cast possible.
Okay,
that was my mindset.
Okay.
This guy was probably there longer than some of the furniture. Right. And that's Tim Meadows.
Tim Meadows is on my list.
Meadows was great.
Meadows is on my list too.
He blended in. He could step out into the front He'd always delivered his one line or two lines of a skit with perfect timing. And I just, you can't be on that show for as long as Tim Meadows was and not be funny.
He's like, and I think this is, I don't know if a lot of people like break down Tim Meadows' like contribution. He's like a completely unique straight man in some of those skits where his perspective, like, and again, like you're putting him in a skit with a bunch of maniacs, right? Like Sandler and Spade and Mike Myers and Farley and all those guys. And then even when he transitioned into the next cast where he's got Will Ferrell and Catan and Brewer and all those other guys. And then Tim Meadows is like the calming force, right? And he's the one that's sort of like, all right, I gotta deliver what I need to deliver here and keep everybody on track and move this thing along. So he's great when it comes to that element to it. But he's also could be great with a recurring character. The ladies' man, awesome. Decent with. I mean, he's not like a Dana Carvey when it comes to impersonations, but he could hold his own with the few that he did. OJ. Colin Powell. I think he did a pretty decent Colin Powell for a few of those war segments. Tim Meadows is criminally underrated when it comes to this show. I'll say that.
So going from a criminally underrated to maybe arguably the biggest star to ever be on the show.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to write a cast without him on it, and
Charles Rocket.
And I just couldn't. I couldn't do it. And so Eddie Murphy.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say. I thought you were really gonna like swerve me and say Gilbert. Yeah, I know Eddie Murphy gets a lot of like. He gets his flowers. He was young. He was 19 years old when he started that show, and he was like. He was the first one that they were like, we're doing a best of.
Yep.
And it's just like his skits. And I do remember because Murphy was a little bit before my time. So I remember like renting the Eddie Murphy like best of Saturday Night Live skits, and it was home run after home run, characters, impersonations, and the impersonations really weren't like. I mean, yeah, he had some really great ones, but it wasn't like, I think he was better when he was doing like a takeoff on something or like a variation on a character, a recurring character or something that they wrote for him. So,
I mean, like White Guy for a Day,
Velvet Jones.
His Stevie Wonder was pretty good.
Stevie Wonder, that was good. Celebrity Hot Tub, James Brown Celebrity Hot Tub, just killed. Gumby. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. And he was, I think for a while there, he was the only reason why people watched the show. And they featured the hell out of him once he actually like caught fire. He was on every skit, so.
He was the franchise, as they like to say.
About
4 years.
Yeah. It could be said, and he definitely deserves the accolades. And I'm sure on the anniversary show they'll talk a lot about him, but he certainly deserves a lot of the praise that he's going to get for making a huge career out of that and becoming like a box office guy. Like 48 Hours is like 83 or 84.
I believe it's 83. Because then I think 84 into 85 was Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah. Trading Places. Was Trading Places his first one?
Maybe it was Best Defense.
What, could he be considered a star of Best Defense, though? Like,
wait, I'm sorry. His star wasn't as
Kurt Russell. Is that Kurt Russell, Best Defense?
I believe that was Dudley Moore. Wasn't it?
Dudley. Maybe.
Nothing shines like a star of Dudley Moore. That's not Arthur. So speaking of stars,
yes. Continue.
Obviously, if you're follow in alphabetical order. My next member would be no surprise, and that's one Bill Murray.
Bill Murray, yes. Yeah, definitely deserves it. By the way, 48 Hours was 1982, and that was his first film. So
that was 83. Who knows? Who knew?
Trading Places 83. Anyway, Bill Murray, yes. Bill Murray, the man who took over in the second season. Yes.
Didn't have like had a tough first season. They didn't write he had like a couple of things like that first maybe 2 or 3 episodes, and then the next thing was him. He wrote a sketch, and it's not even really a sketch. It's him by himself, basically apologizing to the audience that he hasn't been on the show that much,
Yeah.
and that things aren't really going well for him on the show.
Yeah, it's self-deprecation.
And that seemed to kind of win the writers and the crowd over, and they started writing for him, and then he turns into Bill Murray.
Nick the Lounge Singer, I think was his that was like the breakout that really got him noticed. He was in Chevy's shadow. That was obvious, and then he had to be in the same cast as Belushi, who's all over the place, and Aykroyd, who's kind of smooth and leading man type. So yeah, I mean, it took him a while to find his niche, but when he found his niche, like, ¿Quién es más macho? I mean, you could find a lot of like really classic skits that like once he found himself, like he was great in a lot of stuff, and came back and hosted a whole bunch of times, right?
Yeah, the stuff with him and I kind of the most memorable to me would be the sketches he kind of did with Gilda Radner before she left, where it was like noogies.
Yeah, the nerds.
Where he was like one skit where he's like trying to be romantic, but she's got a cold and he's like, "Ooh, what's that lovely scent you're wearing?" And she's like, "It's Vicks Vapor Rub."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Good chemistry with Gilda. Good. He was on the Weekend Update desk too for a little while. Got his brother a job, so nepotism. But yeah, no, it basically made another one. Just made a star out of himself. By being reliable, funny, and charming all at the same time. So, Bill Murray, making your list. Who next?
Already kind of mentioned, but an underrated person in a time filled with when show was at its popularity, one of its most popular, and just an underrated funny dude, and that's Kevin Nealon.
Yeah, Kevin Nealon's great. Kevin Nealon is because he started that first season that everybody was on there. He was a featured player, and he was another one who was sort of like struggling to get on and get characters. But once he started to get characters and do recurring stuff, like he is underrated. Absolutely.
We could go back to my apartment and hot sex.
Yeah,
and then we could sit around and you'll buy me dinner and
yeah, exactly, Mr. Subliminal. Yeah,
Mr. Subliminal.
I watched one the other day. I don't know if you remember this one. I forget who the host was. He was Mr. No Depth Perception.
Oh yeah,
and he could fuck, it's so fucking funny. And it's, it basically like a series of, mishaps when it comes to they're setting the table for dinner and, he's pouring a glass of wine and, and Phil Hartman's got to move the wine glass closer so he doesn't spill it on the table. And then he just drops it behind, on the side of the table. And again, just subtle things that made the skit so much funnier. And you got the joke. You're sort of oh, Mr. No Depth Perception. And it's it's one of those I think it's Jack Handy who wrote a lot of those that are all right, this could be a little bit weird or this could be a little bit oddball. Is this going to really be funny? And Kevin Nealon made it funny. Just like the Mr. Subliminal. He just made stuff funny because he knew a way of landing that material and landing those jokes. So yeah, he terribly not a great like Weekend Update guy, because I think he got a lot of, he was nervous with it. I thought he was okay, but he was nervous with it. But honestly, like a great sketch guy and a good subtle comedy mind.
So going in with the mindset of, I believe we also mentioned when we were talking about how we were going to set up our cast, our ultimate cast,
Mhm.
was that you wanted people from each era.
Yeah, of course.
So, someone who I think is just tragically underused on the latest version
Mhm.
of of SNL cast, is Ego Nodum.
Okay. Yeah. She gets a lot
For
on.
some reason, the sketches that she's in, she kills, and she's another one that obviously has come from like was, whether it was Second City or like she's had like like, because she can be again the feature person or be the waitress or whatever it is. I just think like right now they have a lot of people on that like they have way too many people on that cat. It needs to be trimmed down. And I think sometimes it's just like they have 5 women on the show, and it's just like it gets really hard to kind of write like it where everybody can be featured.
They're kind of bumping into each other. You're right.
Yeah, like Chloe Fineman's funny, Heidi Gardner's funny, um, but I don't know. There's just I just think the things that she's in, she's really funny in, but they just don't use her enough, in my opinion.
She
And
did. I just looked it up. She did come from UCBLA.
oop,
So
there you go.
Upright Citizen Brigade, the LA
Because you can tell,
LA
like you
theater.
could tell somebody who's like, oh, we took them from stand up,
Mhm.
and you brought them on the show, rather than someone who's come from some sort of either improv or some sort of like sketch.
Yeah, yeah.
You could always tell the ones that are like kind of seasoned and stuff.
Because they can move within the sketch, and sort of like they have their instinct when to ramp up the joke, and I think she's very good when it comes to like taking a cue and saying like, all right, well, this needs more, you need to be a little bit more over the top here, or like play it to a certain a certain reaction that people will laugh at, and I think that's those are little cheats that cast members have done like through the years. And you're right, like it takes a lot of sketch and improv skill to do that. And if you're a stand-up, like the stand-up might just like, all right, well, I'm going to truck through. Just got to get my joke in, say my joke as fast as possible. So timing
Plus,
is
like some of the she's done some different characters on the Weekend Update, because that seems to be a thing now to get like, all right, we have like 14, 15 people on the show. We got to try to get them, plus the featured players, and they seem to be. That's where Marcelo Hernandez. The first year that was the only thing he ever did.
yeah,
She
yeah.
one of the characters she does on there is the rich aunt with no kids.
Okay, all right.
It's funny. And she's done a couple other things on there, and it's just like you see it. She has the talent. Like she could be funny. That just one week she's in 4 or 5 sketches, and then the next week she's barely in one or two. Like maybe she's in the cold opening, and that's about it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's just there's just way too many. I'm hoping after the 50th or whatever, they kind of get their act together and kind of realize they don't need like 15, 16 people on
Thin
the
the
show.
herd a bit. Yeah. All right. So Ego Nodum.
So then we go to Amy Poehler.
Love Amy Poehler. Huge fan. Huge fan.
Yeah,
I was a huge Amy Poehler fan before she got on the show. Again, UCB.
Conan O'Brien.
Conan O'Brien. She's Andy Richter's little sister. Yeah. Yeah. No, she's terrific. Great characters. There was what did she do? Like, I mean, she's done a million things. But what were they like? it was a beauty pageant, and she was like, I don't know, she played someone with like one leg or something. I was like, it's so like physical and like over the top stuff that like she could do, and she's very very smart when it comes to participating in skits too, and like and knowing exactly how to like land what she needs to land. So
Wasn't she the one that did like the? I believe it was Horatio Sands would play Brad, and she would have like the mouth.
Rick.
Rick. Yeah, that was it. I mean, probably. I mean, she really hit her stride co-hosting Weekend Update
Yeah.
with Tina Fey. I would say that would probably be the thing that most people, because that was at that time that was like she had to replace Jimmy Fallon, big shoes. I'm there's no way I was not going to get through this without shitting on Jimmy Fallon.
Oh,
If we were making the worst cast,
Yeah.
it would just be his name.
It's his
20
name
times.
800 times.
I'm sorry, it would be 19 times and then Robert Downey Jr.
Oh, come on. Not enough body of work. Fallon's on there longer. And no, like, and what you were saying before, like with when you're talking about Phil or you're talking about Fred, Amy Poehler could play the mom in a sketch. She could play the sister in a sketch. She could play, a redneck woman. She could play a princess. She like arranged.
She did Hillary Clinton. She was a really good Hillary Clinton.
Yeah. Like range, all that stuff is dialed into it. And again, she deserves, like, because of the hard work that she put into like starting the UCB, before she got to Saturday Night Live, and then like I think she might have been like a writer, or she at least like submitted enough of her stuff to kind of get on there and take off from there. And once she like got her feet underneath her, like it was like she was like set, and she was part of that like really resurgent like females kind of like in the middle of that cast that were like holding everything together with Anna and with Tina Fey and with Maya Rudolph and Rachel, and so like really like kudos to them for having a good foundation together. So yeah, Amy Poehler's terrific.
So the third in the hat trick of female cast members, Maya Rudolph.
I just mentioned her. Yes.
Yeah, you did. The Beyonce impersonation, again, another one kind of like Fred, where she could really sing.
She's a hell of a singer. Yeah.
So she always had that where it gave them that versatility to where they could poke fun at something that was going on in the music world, because like she could be in the skit and give it legitimate, like she could really, you know what I mean? Like when she did sing or did different things, the one that kind of just popped in my mind was she hosted, and they had a couple of them come back and they did the ABBA skit where it was like the ABBA Christmas, and they were doing it with like, the Swedish, like when they were talking in between and stuff, and she's singing ABBA. It's really hard to sing.
Well, her mom is Minnie Riperton.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, she's got a pedigree of
just because your parents can do something doesn't mean that you could do
well, I'm just saying, like, I think she's sort of inherited a lot of like really good singing chops and singing cues from her mom. So,
but for the years that she was on, I mean, she was just, I thought she was consistently it's always a tough spot. You hear the stories about like it's a boys' club. There's all boys, right? Very few female writers on the show. But I think she stood out as somebody that was just, like you could write her in anything and she was funny.
Yeah, very freaking
delivered.
Funny. Yeah, good for you, Maya Rudolph, on my list as well. By the way,
I'm glad.
Thank you.
So, going back to the boys, my next cast member would be Andy Samberg.
Andy Samberg, yeah.
Did some really good impressions. Was going from as the world would change, as the world and technology changed, he was. I don't want to say he's the first, but he was a big reason with the pre-taped skits
Yeah.
that turned into, not only did everybody tune in to watch them on the show, but they became viral and got tons of hits on YouTube. And I don't know if he was the first, but I remember a lot of the stuff that he wrote and he was involved in. Obviously, Dick in the Box,
Yeah, all those Lonely Island.
the Lonely Island
Skits,
guys, whatever
yeah.
they did, the Lazy Saturday or no Lazy Sunday,
Yeah.
all that stuff. I remember them pitching the cats with lasers just to kind of mock, just to see if Lauren would go along with anything. With they're running around the studio with fake cats that shoot lasers out.
Yeah.
But no, just he was. I thought he was just a consistently funny dude that was on. I know, kind of like not underrated, but like I think you appreciated him once he kind of left.
I was gonna say, like, he at first he kind of gave off the, well, he's just like Jimmy Fallon, he's just like Sandler, sort of like the goofy. He's gonna play the goofy character in more skits than not. And I think as he sort of stuck with the show and kind of got his feet underneath him, like I think he ended up being like, he surprised a lot of people. You know, and again, the digital shorts were like, all right, that is stuff that, like, you know, it took Saturday Night Live away from just, you know, your appointment viewing at 11:30. That was like, well, now we're going to share this on, you know, on YouTube, and it's going to, like, millions and billions of people are going to see this. So, like, you know, to take that and make it global to a certain extent, because you're using the internet as a sort of as a broadcasting beacon. And him being smart enough to be at the forefront of that. I mean, there's so many good things. Like the what was the one where it's him, three best friends. They're singing the song. It's him and Katy Perry. And then they run into Val Kilmer, who's a mad scientist, and it's this, like, the joke escalates, and I think it was like a Christmas episode, and it's still funny. It's catchy. Like, everything that he did when it came to, like, singing or creating music was kind of catchy.
Right.
So that didn't hurt. And yeah, I think he, you know, and again, a guy who had a post Saturday Night Live, like, huge career, like Brooklyn Nine-Nine is had a long run on two networks.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, he's deceptively good. And I think that's the sort of thing where, like, you know, if you have longtime fans of the show, they'd probably say the same thing. It's like, yeah, he didn't start off that great, and we kind of undervalued him, but then when he hit, like, he really hit, like, he was great. So
there's a point, I would guess maybe after Eddie left and before Dana and Nealon and Hartman and all that, like, it's almost like the lost years of SNL.
Mm-hmm.
Lauren left the show. There came a point where it was like they went out and hired people who were already kind of known commodities.
Yep.
Billy Crystal comes to mind, Martin Short.
Yes.
One of the guys that was in that group that I thought was just very underratedly funny, and that's another guy who went on to have a lot of success on The Simpsons, Harry Shearer.
Ooh, Harry Shearer. So, fun fact, Harry Shearer, 2 stints on Saturday Night Live.
Yes.
So I think he was in that 80 cast. Historically hated his time on Saturday Night Live. I didn't get used enough. I didn't get I was left off of shows. I didn't have that much input. But Jesus Christ, when he was on the show, like, he did some great stuff. So, like, I don't know what he whinges about, but
Right.
yeah, Harry's very funny, and Harry's another guy who was sort of like, he's a voice master. So he could do, like, great impersonations. Like, he did news guys, he did singers. So yeah, like a very good impersonation guy and very good, like, voice guy. And they did a lot of, like, speaking of Sandler, in that season, they did a lot of, like, pre-tape stuff. And he was, he was helpful when it came to that stuff because he could really act, and he was a serious actor too. Harry Shearer's a sleeper, bit of a sleeper.
And he was one of the synchronized swimmers who could swim.
Yeah. I'm not so strong.
I'm not a strong swimmer.
Yeah. Now, Harry Shearer is smooth. One of the smoothest voices in all of comedy and animation.
So going to someone who took SNL and then just leapfrogged it into stardom, Jason Sudeikis.
You're a Sudeikis guy. All right.
I thought, again, another guy that just like, don't know what it was, but like, he did the one character where he was like the asshole guy, and he was always chewing gum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I babe.
Babe. Yeah. And obviously, what's up with that when he would just be in the background doing like 80s.
Yeah.
The Running Man and
tracksuit dancing guy. Yeah.
That has got to be one of the most, like, Kenan Thompson, him doing like all the Running Man stuff, Bill Hader dressed up as Lindsey Buckingham.
Lindsey, my man. Fred Armisen's he's playing the saxophone. He looks like the guy from the Muppets. He's got the long hair. And then and whatever they have, whoever the females were that were the backup singers, on the cast at that particular one. And then Lindsey Buckingham at the end of the. But yeah, like Sudeikis, like he's putting in an absolute workout in that tracksuit. Like,
I believe the Weekend Update, he used to come in dressed up as the devil.
Him and Lovitz are neck and neck for the best devils on the show for sure. I like him. They used to do the spoofs of the. I don't know if you had ever seen online the commercials for the Gathering of the Juggalos. That the Insane Clown Posse does. So every year, this Insane Clown Posse does a fan festival concert, like a 3-day concert, somewhere deep in the woods. And so Saturday Night Live, I guess they saw these online because they used to post them on YouTube like the month before the Gathering of the Juggalos, and they did like a takeoff on that, and he would be like, so if you watch the video for the Gathering of the Juggalos, it's like, they would tell you like, oh, it's, our hosts are ICP, and then it's like, oh, and you also see Twisted, and there'll be guys on stilts, and they'll be like, and Vanilla Ice. So then they did it on Saturday Night Live, and they would like, it's this escalating like, oh, the band Creed, and then it's like, Pumpkin Squash, or like, and it's like, oh, there's Methed Out Coyotes, and he's sort of at the center of it, kind of hosting it and gearing it along, and kind of, making fun of the ICP guys, I guess, to a certain extent in there. So, it was probably like a 10-to-1 skit once that they did like 3 or 4 times. So it's very, very funny. Go track it down. I don't know. I think it was like the Kick Spit Festival or something like that. So it's good stuff. Sudeikis. And again, Sudeikis could also be like any character in any skit. He's a really good actor. Right. And again, he could be dramatic, and he could be very, very goofy as well. So he's got chops.
Fun fact: he was hired as a writer.
Yeah. Well, a lot of these guys were writers.
I think there was something like somebody got sick, or there was some sort of thing where like the time in between when the one sketch and the other sketch, and Lauren just said, "All right, Jason,
go do that.
Go ahead."
Okay,
and he wound up, and that's how he kind of got onto went from writer to being on the cast.
Brilliant.
So, without looking up to do math, because I purposely got into this to not do math.
Okay, thank you.
Could be Tim Meadows, could be Daryl Hammond, but I think the guy that might have been on the show the longest is Kenan Thompson.
Yeah, Kenan Thompson. Kenan Thompson is the guy that I think he's 22 years.
I know he's been on. I think he holds the record for being in the most sketches.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got to be on the show the longest. But
started in 2003 or 2004.
So anybody who's got that kind of longevity, you
Yeah.
got to put them on the cast.
And we just said, what's up with that is great. That's great entertainment. Good like a really good impersonation. I think it was from this season. They did a skit, might have been one of the Mulaney episodes, where Mulaney is, or maybe it was last season, but either way, Mulaney is this old writer for sitcoms, and he whatever like made up like TGIF show, and he's like, yeah, and then we had because everybody did it at the time. We had Little Richard on as our
yeah.
and then they brought Keenan's doing like a great Little Richard, like, and it's the Little Richard greatest hits, like Shut Up and Woo, I'm Prettier Than You, but he does it in such a way, and it's also like everybody else is sort of like cracking a little bit, and he's trying to like stay in character, and he sort of scolds them a little bit, like, pay attention to me. He just
I
he could do
believe
that.
it was like, we only hired him for one episode, but he just kept on coming back week after week.
And he berates the dog, and then ended up shooting the dog at the end of the episode. Yeah, I mean, again, some may say he's the Harold Baines of sketch comedy. He's a stat compiler, and that's why he's in the Hall of Fame. But brother's stuck on the show, and I don't see him going anywhere. If they're keeping the show going beyond 50, I think he's going to be like, all right, I'm game to do another 20 years here.
They're gonna have to get a restraining order. They'll fire him. He'll just keep on coming back.
They just keep building sets around him, and he keeps doing bits, like, because they close the set and they think, all right, Keenan can't get out of there, but he like sort of like improvs his way in and out of there. He's a funny guy, and he's still, again, I think because he's been on the show for so long, you lose track of like how old he is, because he's probably like close to his 50s, right?
Right.
He could be the oldest cast member in the history, other than George Coe.
He's probably in his early 20s when he got hired.
Yeah, I think he got that after he did that the Good Burger movie and all that, and the Nickelodeon stuff. But yeah, like he's.
By the way, that was kind of funny when they brought. I think it was Keke Palmer was the host.
Mm-hmm, yeah,
and they actually did Good Burger, and they brought the other dude back.
Yeah, the other guy from Good Burger.
Nobody had seen, and whatever it was since the last Good Burger thing.
Yeah, then they made a Good Burger sequel. So yeah.
So my next one is a little bit of a what if.
Okay. A what if.
What if he was on? He didn't even make the full season. He got fired. He got fired right after a sketch.
Oh,
and that's Damon Wayans.
Damon Wayans, yeah, did come back to host.
Yeah. But here's the thing: they never really. He auditioned with the homeless guy that he did on In Living Color.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He auditioned with Homie the Clown.
Okay. Didn't know that, but yeah.
Auditioned with a version of Men on Film where it was only him.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So imagine all those really good things that he wrote and did on In Living Color, if they would have allowed him to write and do on SNL.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like he left SNL and then developed those characters with his brother, or his brother wrote it. He had him in
the tank, yeah. Yeah.
And they never put him on the show.
There probably wouldn't have been in the Living Color if he wasn't so bitter about getting kicked off the show, and consequently a lot of other people that got rejected from that show. It was kind of serendipity that they wanted, because sketch was so big at the time.
Well, for those that may not know, he basically was mad that he wasn't being used right, and that he was again like the second cop in a skit, and he did it straight the way it was written in dress rehearsal, but live on air he did it all effeminate, kind of like Men on Film.
Yes, he did.
And as he walked off, Lauren was pissed because apparently that's like the one rule is you can't go rogue.
Yeah,
you can't do something he got fired. But again, he came back later that year and hosted again. But
yeah, he hosted later. He's in that skit. They're basically making fun of Seinfeld. It's a Tom Hanks episode, and they're all stand-up comedians like backstage while another guy's on, and it's Tom Hanks and Lovitz, and they're doing like, "Hey, what's the deal with this?" And it's like, "Can that be a joke?" And Damon Wayans is the comedian that's coming off, and they're like, "Hey, how was it out there? How was the crowd?" And he's like, "I know, I couldn't land a joke. Good luck with that crew." And they're all basically doing Jerry Seinfeld's voice. This is before Seinfeld, like he had been on the Tonight Show, and like you knew him from like, maybe young comedian specials and stuff like that. But like here are all these guys just riffing, doing the Seinfeld voice 5 years before Seinfeld was like, a big deal or a main thing. So like that's sort of, underrated, like when it comes to his brief appearances. So it's good that you mentioned him for sure.
So that's the cast.
Okay.
So we mentioned we would also pick a host and a musical guest.
Okay. Right.
So just to kind of wrap this up, and I'm sure you want to go over some.
Yeah, I'm just going to dot a few.
So I picked for my host Tom Hanks.
Okay, great.
I think consistently every time he's hosted, he brings the same professionalism he does to his movies. He's a funny dude. I mean, everyone forgets he started doing comedy movies.
Oh yeah, yeah. Bosom buddies.
Of course, is most famous, me and you, for the Mr. Belvedere sketch.
Brock Toon. I love that skit so much. I just watched it like not too long ago.
I should want to shake Mr. Belvedere's hand. I shouldn't want to kidnap him and hold him in
a glass jar
in my basement.
And again, that's another great Tim Meadows. He just kind of shows up because he had a stand-up gig, like he's doing a charity stand-up gig, and he just wanted to come in. He's like, and at the end, he's like, "What's wrong with you people? Why are you talking about Mr. Belvedere like this? And who's this guy, Brock Toon?"
And they wind up. I think the skit ends with him.
He's in the jar.
He's in the jar in the basement.
Yeah, exactly.
My musical guest, I picked The Police.
Okay.
Just because Sting had been on the show.
When did the police do it?
The police were on very early in the early 80s.
Okay. All right.
And then Sting solo like later on in the 80s and into the 90s. Yeah. One, I like the Police.
Okay.
It'd be cool to see a Police reunion. Two, Sting has done some work on the show.
I think he was a host and musical guest.
He was Billy Idol in the Frank Sinatra group.
Yes. Yes.
Don't provoke me, old man. So one of those, like, you can get a musical guest, but you could also use them.
I
know everyone's going to say Justin
Sting.
Timberlake.
Nah, nobody's.
But you know what? I can't.
This is a two-person show. Nobody's going to say Justin Timberlake on this side. No, thank you.
Well, people will.
Okay, those people. Tell them to get their own podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, Timberlake, the stuff that he does on the show is funny, but I don't like his music. And part of being a musical guest is you got to play music.
You got to do music, yeah. I mean, come on.
So that would be my my cast and host and musical guest. So
I'm going to work reverse up just to and most of the guys, like I would think like 80% of the people in your cast are in mine, so we don't have to double up. I'll go over cast members in a second. My musical guest would be Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, but it would be Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers with Dave Grohl on drums, because there was that, I think it was 95.
Yeah, Honeybee.
When they did Honeybee, and that's my favorite performance ever on Saturday Night Live. It's so freaking good. And so that's my favorite musical performance.
I think the first song was you don't know how it feels.
Yep.
And then Honeybee.
And then Honeybee, and he clobbers the drums on Honeybee, just freaking clobbers them. My host would be. I was of two minds here. Originally, I would say Martin Short, but I'm not going to go with Martin Short. I'm actually going to go a different. I think one of the more recent five-timers, Paul Rudd. Because I think Paul Rudd plays off people extremely well. He's game for anything.
He was in my list of considerations.
Yeah, and he's a five-timer. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're good looking. No, you're good. Oh no, you're great. No, you're great. So that Rudd would be my host. He's great. Of the people that were on my list that you did not have. Jay Farrow, I think, is an
really good, really great impressionist.
Great impressionist. Could also do, like, Morgan Freeman is solid, and Kanye is solid, and he had probably the best Obama. But also, like, attention teachers and students, just stupid throwaway lines in certain skits that he would do. Like, I'd love me some Jay Farrow. So Jay Farrow would make my list. Yeah, I had Keenan. Kyle Mooney. I really like Kyle Mooney.
Really?
Yeah.
The guy that looks like Kenny G?
He's got the curly mop of hair. He's sort of like as the 1,000-yard stare. One of the great awkward players. Like a guy, like he plays the fish out of water in certain circumstances so well. And it's like there'll be two hunky guys on a panel and they're doing like a dating show or a dating game type skit. And he's like the third guy and he's like overly confident when he shouldn't be. And like he just nails it. Not an impression guy, but like for characters and for like, I think he ended up doing like a bunch of Man on the Streets that were like pre-recorded, and he's sort of like mumble talking to like regular people on the street that they recorded, and like his and the reactions that like they would give him are great, like, and he played off of that really well. So like he's criminally underrated, and he's a guy that probably should still be on the show because I don't think he does much other than maybe writing. But he always made me laugh. I like Mike Myers a lot. Big fan of Mike Myers. He started to get a little samesies towards the end, and he wasn't like. And some of his recurring characters were like one note. Simon is a little one note, and it's basically like him doing the impersonation of the British, I guess, cartoon or skit or whatever that was.
I think I let the bias of what he did after SNL, where he took the if it's not Scottish, it's crap character.
He did a lot of that, yeah.
And that's Shrek, and that's the Love Guru. Like,
I know.
I just think there are. I mean, Sprockets was really. I mean, the first time I saw Sprockets,
he's middle-aged man as well. He's Lang Thompson, the handsome man. And he was good in like if there's like an ensemble skit, like he was always good in that. And again, he's another one who does great like musical impressions too. So I give Mike Myers his due. Chris Parnell. I always thought Chris Parnell is another guy who's just sort of like when you need somebody to be weird in a skit or sort of like the straight man in a skit that like. And again, he's another one that did a lot of like game show hosts.
When we were talking about Andy Samberg, you think about, all right, of all the people that were on the show at that time, all right, it's going to be Andy Samberg and another dude doing a rap song called Lazy Sunday. Chris Parnell you wouldn't think would be the other guy.
Yeah, right.
If you just looked at him.
Yeah. And here he comes.
He did it, and he was really funny.
And he's got bars. He's got bars. He's no slouch. So I think Chris Parnell... pretty underrated, but he'd make my my top 20. Cecily Strong, I always thought Cecily Strong was extremely funny. She's sexy. She could play goofy or redneck or ditzy, whatever it was. Like I thought she was really great, and another one who could sing her ass off when it came down to it. So she would be in my top 10. Jan Hooks, boyhood crush Jan Hooks, but Jan Hooks was so good. Like again, another one that's like she had like theater training and she had done like sketch comedy before she came in. So it's like, well, why are you surprised that she's as good as she was? And she was like the main female, like, yeah, you had Nora Dunn and you had Victoria Jackson at the time on the cast with her, but like they were like polar opposites because like everything with Victoria Jackson was like she's got a baby voice and she's really ditzy, and then everything with Nora Dunn was she's the highbrow one. You needed somebody in the middle, and she played well with Dana. She played well with Phil. Really she great in the trenches with.
She was Tammy Faye.
Tammy Faye. She was Kathy Lee
And
Gifford.
then, again, maybe one of my favorite sketches, which is already mentioned, but the Frank Sinatra group. She was Sinead O'Connor.
Yep. Yeah, she did Sinead O'Connor a bunch of times for sure, especially after the Pope ripping. So Jan Hooks. Two more that weren't on your list. They're definitely on my list. Bill Hader. I'm surprised you didn't have Bill Hader.
I really wanted to put all right. This is really like a lame reason to keep him off.
Mm-hmm.
He broke a lot.
Oh, of course, yeah. Yeah. Well, he's also going a mile a minute with like his jokes or his impressions, and somebody's laughing next to him, and he's obviously reacting to it. I know. Yeah, we don't want to celebrate the breakers, but Jesus, Bill Hader has a million impersonations, and still, like, he's another guy who, like, I listen to him on like Conan's podcast, and him and Conan go back and forth with, like, Conan's like, oh, tell me how this would go, and Bill Hader, like, off the top of his head, he has an impersonation for whatever Conan thinks of. So he's versatile. He's
real quickly. My favorite Bill Hader sketch is when he's doing the Italian guy.
Vidi Vinci, yes.
And then he does the impression, like the episode where he had John Malkovich on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he's doing the John Malkovich, and Malkovich is like, I don't sound like that. He goes, yes.
Yes,
like, and then he has Fred Armisen, who's at like another table eating a plate of spaghetti, going,
house and spaghetti.
He says something like gibberish that's supposed to be Italian. He goes, oh, yeah. John Malkovich.
Yeah, it's absurd, and it's not supposed to work, but it works so well.
Put Hader on my list.
Yeah, Hader's a home run. Hader's top 5 for me, by the way. My other one's top 4. Goddamn Will Forte, another weird human being in like
Gruber.
So here's a tree of like weird dudes. You have Bill Murray's like the original SNL weird dude. And then you get to like guys like, I think Dana's a weird dude. Like he's got weird dude energy. And like, you know, you could see it in his eyes that like he's not too stable. Then you have a bunch of like sub weird dudes. Like Sandler's a weird dude, like to a certain extent. He's like a giggle weird dude. But like Will Forte's elevated for me because he's so like, the skits that like I remember him the most in are the things you're like, that shouldn't be as funny as it is, but he plays them so like on the nose or like earnestly that you're like, yep, that guy nailed it. He auditioned with it. It was that spelling bee skit where he's the word is chagrin or whatever it was, and he just starts like CH B like, and he goes on forever, and it's like with every little beat it just gets funnier and funnier, and then he says the word and they're like and and he just sort of like sadly walks off. Like that to me, like that makes me laugh a million times, and still one of my favorite reoccurring skits. That was a 10-to-1 skit at one point. He's the Falconer. And again, he's just so over the top in this. And Donald is Falcon. Oh, Donald! It's still like the way that he just delivers the lines, and then whoever is like his co-star on the skit, like they start like getting like weird with him. And then I think the final one they ever did was there was a time machine so he could go back in time to avenge the death of Donald because Donald got shot, and he has to keep going back in time. So it's him and whoever, like the one or two people that are with him, and then somebody else is like a past version of the Falconer or a future version of the Falconer. Keep coming back. Just find it. I think it's like on YouTube as like the last. You can find that as like the last Falconer. If you've never seen it, it's one of my favorite skits of all time. The
other one that was always a favorite of mine with Will Forte is there's a sketch where I believe he's a high school basketball coach, and they're getting their butts handed to him, and he starts talking about how I think you boys need a little bit of inspiration, and they start playing like an NFL Films type of song, and he just kind of tilts his head back, and he starts swaying like almost like a hippie dance.
Yeah.
And the longer it goes, where he's just kind of getting into it and stuff, like luckily the guys in the back, like it's halftime, so they all have towels.
Yeah. They get,
All their faces are buried in the towel because they all can like, and it's not just the normal people that break. It's like everybody who was in that sketch broke.
Yeah. And it's just him having a like a one man show workout. Like anything that he's in now, I watch. He's funny. He's always funny to me. He was a writer on the show.
Another good like Conan or late night host, guest.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
He's always funny.
Definitely, because he's whatever like story he makes up, and he's like, I find him charming in the way that he just speaks in general. Like, that's sort of like mumbly, like humble, like, oh, I'm doing okay, Conan. Like he makes me like, he could stand still and make me laugh. Like he's great as far as I'm concerned. So that rounds out. My number one was Phil Hartman. He's the glue. I had Dana's and Will Ferrell's and Tim Meadows and all those other people that we touched upon. So that basically rounds out the cast. One thing that I did want to mention, because I wrote these down, there are a few one-season wonders that blink and you'll miss them, that were on Saturday Night Lives, that I just want to highlight. Chris Elliott.
Yes.
The ever-brilliant Chris Elliott was part of that 94 cast that basically, like, it almost torpedoed the show. But Chris Elliott is the ultimate nepo baby, and open up the floodgates for nepotism, because his father was on the show as like a one-off in the 70s. Bob Elliott, and his writing partner was Tom something or other, and then his daughter Abby Elliott ended up on the show in the 2000s. But I always got a kick out of Chris Elliott, and he's another one that just sort of like, his face makes me laugh. Jenny Slate, the great Jenny Slate, was on for one season. She cursed on the air, and that sort of like put the spike in her career. But if you go back and you watch that season that she was on, she does a lot of really good stuff in those skits, and that sort of like opened her up. And once she left the show, like, she became a big star. And more recently, Tim Robinson, who went on to do Detroiters, which is a very underrated show that was on Comedy Central. Then it's on Netflix now. And he also did, on Netflix, he does I Think You Should Leave, which is a really great sketch comedy show, like bite-size, maybe 8-minute, 10-minute sketches that are wild, absurd, weird, kind of like new style, edgy comedy. And he's going to be in a movie with Paul Rudd, ironically enough, I think in May, that looks really good. So yeah, I would give them those three. I deserve to talk about them, but they deserve a little bit of kudos for being one-season wonders.
Was Sarah Silverman a writer for 1 year or a cast member?
So I believe she was a cast member. She might have like contributed a little bit. She wasn't officially a writer, but she got on for one season and barely like, she was in the background a bunch and waved goodbye a lot. I think that was a season with Chris Elliott, as a matter of fact. When they brought in Michael McKean.
Was Chris Elliott allowed to bring any of the characters he used to do on the late
no.
Letterman?
Weirdly enough, like, they left that stuff on the runway because they were, and he was a writer for Letterman, but I think they were sort of like tied to Dave's. So like, yeah, it's not like he could come out and do Marlon Brando. Although it would be great if he did, and play the Superman theme for him.
They didn't have him get hair plugs,
or do like the man under the stairs, or
right.
any of his great like recurring bits on Letterman was sort of like left, and it was like, all right, here he is in this like doctor sketch, and it's like, oh, none of this is funny. So, but yeah, that's. I mean, I don't know if there's anything else to hit on as far as the show goes. We both look forward to seeing it, I'm sure, and then that musical special should be pretty cool too, by bringing a few people back. So
it's going to be. I mean, to try to fit 50 years into like a 3-hour show. I mean, it's probably whoever they, the ones that they bring back. It's they're going to do their greatest hits.
Yeah, I hope they do. Yeah,
and so it will kind of be, it's going to be weird. I mean, I know he hosted a couple, but like, Eddie Murphy's coming back, but it's like, he's older. It's not going to be. He'll probably either do like Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood or Gumby or something like that.
yeah,
and
yeah.
he's not. It's not going to be like one of those like weird sketches that he used to do with Piscopo. It's going to be. Everybody's going to be doing like their main thing they were really.
I would think, and then there'll be a lot of clips and a lot of highlights from past sketches. I just hope it's not like, all right, well, we did that for the first hour, and then it's 2 hours of like, oh, we're really good at political comedy, and like, here's all the political stuff we did, and because that's sort of like it's sort of like it should live in a vacuum. Yeah, there's some stuff that sort of transcends from year to year, and they were the first ones to do the like a spoof of a presidential debate and all that other stuff. So like I get that that's like woven into the fabric, but especially going back and watching the stuff from the 80s, like the political skits from the 80s with like George Bush or Reagan or Dukakis or whoever it was, like they're not relevant now. No. And even when they got to like the 2000s and they were like doing Sarah Palin and they're doing Al Gore and they're doing Bob Dole and all this other stuff, it just sort of like it lives for that, maybe that 4-year cycle that person's like in office, and then so just show it as a montage, or like have them, any of the living ones that want to like do their presidential, like just stand them up in a line. If it's like 20 minutes of stupid Donald Trump impersonations, I don't want to see it. Like they're going to do it, and it's going to, that's going to be the thing where they get viral views because of it. But I don't know.
Well, I mean, if you're going to you're going to have everyone who probably impersonated a president, in the building. So I'm sure there'll be something, but
just do a line.
Part of the, it's just sad that we're kind of where we are in the world, but it's always been a part of the show from the beginning.
Yeah.
Chevy Chase did Gerald Ford.
They've had an impersonation of every president and every opponent candidate. Yeah.
As much as, everyone, it's so political, polarizing, it's part of the show.
I know.
So,
I know. And they'll get views because of it. And, somebody will get a standing ovation because they, said something. And it's sort of like, just do 2 hours of Massive Head Wound Harry. Or
the one thing that I would hope, I would kind of wish they'd done, but I don't think they're going to, but between like the 4-part thing that's on Peacock and then everything this weekend, I wish they would kind of acknowledge all the, like some of the writers that were on the show.
Yeah.
And the stuff, like some of the ones that went on to do like, not just like Conan or Odenkirk, like some of the other writers that went on to write like really big, like hit comedy movies after they left.
Yeah.
It would be nice if they gave a little shout out to some of the, I mean, hell, one of them was a U.S. senator.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm gonna say like I'm sure they'll probably have they'll get their spotlight, or at least they'll get their, they'll have somebody representing Smigel or Mulaney. They'll talk about like and again, like
I think Mulaney's on the show. I think he's part of it. So
there'll be tons of people that are giving it up for the writers too. So we shall see. Next episode. You came up with the concept for the next episode. Why don't you share that with the listening folks, Captain?
So I'm thinking we're going to talk about some of the best villains, and I like to call bad movies.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Um, Obviously, like, yeah, it would be if I said, "Oh, who's the best villains of all time?" You're gonna talk about like this one who played Dracula,
Yeah.
or this, about no, no, no. Like we want to think of like absurd kind of like like something like Roadhouse, something like Over the Top,
Okay.
those type of
Okay.
movies. Who were the best villains?
Okay. All right.
Uh,
I like this. This makes you sort of like think about cheese. I think cheesy villains. When you mention it to me,
that would be, maybe that's a better best villains in a cheesy
yeah,
movie.
yeah, yeah, cheesy villains. We look forward to that. That should be a fun one to wrap our brains around. So well done, Captain. You were anchor on this episode. A lot of good information here.
Thank you.
So we do appreciate that. For the captain.
I've been a fan of the show. I'm like, it's been a part of like my life. It's been a part of the family. I never get tired of hearing stories, even if it's like somebody who maybe wasn't a very good cast member. If they're on a talk show and they start talking about their experience about
Yeah.
Saturday Night Live, I got to stop and I got to listen to it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what was their
I was
experience?
fortunate enough to get kind of like a tour of the studio. I got to go to a dress rehearsal. I'm still hoping maybe at one point I get to do a live taping.
Yeah.
I would probably say it's consistently, it's probably my favorite show of all time.
It's up there. I said something similar not too long ago, and it's sort of like, the people that haven't really followed it in the last like 5 or 10 years, or that don't like the way that the show is written now, whatever gripe they have is always like, oh, it's so much better, 30 years ago, or like the original cast is the only great one that they ever had. And it's like, all right, I get it. But like, if you stuck with it and you sort of like ebbed and flowed with like the lean years, and then you watched like it, recuperate, and you sort of like, again, like just stuck with it more than anything. I'm going to say, if you stuck with that show, it's got to be like in the conversation for your favorite show of all time. So, and that's the way it is with me. It's up there. It's a hallmark. It's a tent pole, as they would say in the entertainment business. So with that being said, Mike Madden, the Madden part of the Captain and Madden Show, Michael Corby, the captain part of the show. We hope you guys enjoy listening to us, and we will see you on the next episode.
Bye-bye.